I reckon part of the best part about fantasy, man, is making trades. Firstly, I'm gonna trade my name. My name's Fauzi. I'm gonna send that to you.
Well, I guess I don't want your name though. Like
Oh
my name's Nick, but I
man,
don't
that's
want it.
that's
I
how
don't.
that's how a trade doesn't work. But we're here to obviously talk about some tips on how to pull off a fantasy trade. Clearly, you just can't throw away any player and hope for something back in return because that other guy might actually have some feelings and some thoughts and some affection to Phoenix Suns
Well,
players. Obviously, depending
no,
on
no. Like,
So
let's really
I don't
unpack
think
it.
I don't think
Where
you'd ever trade Devin Booker, man. I'd have to give you SGA for Devin
ooh,
Booker. SGA for Devin Booker.
ooh.
Never happening. Yeah, that's the reality. But yeah, look, obviously we were trying to pull off a trade this week, and we thought we'd sort of share some of our thoughts and some of our ideas on how to pull off successful trades. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first? Because I guess it's a little bit of a mindset game. It sounds like we got two different mindsets on how to pull it off.
Yeah, so I hear you constantly joke about trying to get Wemby, trying to get Jokic, but I guess without listening to your strategy, I'm actually not thinking you're joking. I think you're
Yeah.
serious. So, when I look at your roster, because our rosters are side by side, SGA is clearly your highest valuable player, right? He's
Absolutely.
an MVP candidate. He's going to give you 30 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists on really good shooting. So if I want to acquire SGA from you, a one-for-one trade is very difficult because he essentially would almost be only eligible to be traded with Giannis, Jokic, Luka, like that caliber player, right? So then what I have to do is I have to figure out I might have to give you two players. But when I give you two players, it's probably easier to do a two for two because roster slots, then you have to drop someone. So there's all these things. But if I were to give you two players, I need to be considerate of what I'm giving up. So if SGA averages 30, my two players need to give you 35, 40. You might be thinking, well, why don't they just match it? Well, they can't match it because otherwise, why would you use two roster slots to give you the stats that one player can give you? So, when you think about trading for SGA, I would need to probably give you a 40 point, 12 rebound, 12 assists, and
Jokic.
then two blocks, two steals caliber package for you to consider it. And the reason why I say consider it is because you've already got that in one slot. So how much more do you need from one more slot to make it worthwhile? So last year we put off a 3-for-1 trade where you received Brunson, Brook Lopez, and Chet Holmgren for Luca, right? And Luca individually is phenomenal and outdoes two of those players pretty consistently. And Jalen Brunson was your flyer in terms of he could average the points. But I could obviously pick up two more players and fill in those needs and kind of build my team around that. So I don't actually look for the big fish. I have sent out some Jokic trades and Wemby trades to also see what those owners are doing. Those owners don't seem to check their app, so that's fine. That's all good. Enjoy. It's pretty ironic that
I
Jokic is
think
going to
you're
be on
missing a
another
po- I
team
think
that's
you're
looked at.
missing a point here, but I'll wait for you to
You
keep.
save it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So for me, what I do is I kind of look at. I've drafted a team. I've got some good stock players here. I do have some sell highs. I look at DeMar DeRozan, who could be a sell high because if he maintains, then he's a real steal. But if he doesn't, then I get out while the iron's hot. Same for Steph Curry, who may come back from injury, may not. But for me, I always look at the auxiliary players. I look at the players for you that they give you steady stats, but they're not doing anything. I'm always at this point, at least my strategy is I want to improve my bench, or I want to improve the guys who aren't the all stars, aren't the all NBA players, um, in terms of fantasy stuff. So, for me, I talk to you about Trey Murphy because I know that you have quite an affinity for him, but I know that his stock is low because he's currently on the injury roster. Now, not a bad thing because you could take him and then stash him if you're going to drop a Sar Thompson, and then we can talk about some other stuff. But I also offered you Alperen Şengün for Chet Holmgren and you've declined, which is completely your right as a free citizen of this world.
If you're still 3 minutes into this video or whatever, you should stick around because Nick Live is gonna try to give one more swing here on why I should trade Chet Holmgren for Sengun. Hey, is that right? I look forward to this. You should be on the clock. You get 90 seconds. Yeah, you get 90 seconds. I don't
I
want
think I think Shark Tank will give me a little bit longer.
to
Um, but yeah, so I think I've tried to put off a couple of trades here, and in my mind, without making the
Yep,
pitch now, because I'll save it for you
yep,
to share your
yep.
strategy. Some players have higher potential
Hmm.
than production, and at this stage in the season, you can sell on potential. So I'm trying to sell you on the fact that Alperen Şengün proved last year that he can average like 25, like 8 and 8. He can do it. He's not doing it currently though, but he's still giving you really good stats comparable to what Chet gives you now. I don't think Chet's ceiling is as high, But then I also acknowledge
Wait,
Chet's
wait.
blocks and statistics are good as
It sounds
well.
like you're trying to convince me now already. We're not on the
No, no,
clock
no, no,
yet.
no, no,
Stopwatch.
no, no, no. I'm not on the clock. I'm not on the clock. So there's those kind of things. But then we had other conversations off camera where you talked about Pascal Siakam maybe sell high now because if Tyrese gets going, then obviously it declines. But Tyrese is sell low. There's all these different factors that go into team makeup, compositions, injuries, these kind of things.
Sure, absolutely.
But yeah, look, when I approach trades, I get really disrespected when people just reject them and don't talk to me
Well,
because I
look,
really think
maybe
about it.
maybe that's the first thing that I tend to try to do, yeah, is you actually need to talk to that other owner. Yeah, yeah, maybe you need to lay the groundwork. Just like, in real life, man, you wouldn't necessarily just file the paperwork at the NBA head office for trades and then just hope that the other team signs the other side of it and then it goes through. You actually probably need to pick up the phone, chat to the other owner, go, "Hey man, how's life? What's going on? Hey, by the way, let's talk about our rosters. Do you think we could make a trade? What do you think about this player?" And there's a little bit of real life interaction here. Guess what? This doesn't happen with. This doesn't happen with a random league. Yeah, when you have 10 guys you play, you have no idea who they are. We obviously have a group chat, that's got 9 out of 10 players I think in it. Okay, and but in a random league you don't know anybody, and sometimes you play those leagues and it's still fun, right? But I swear you play a whole season and not a single trade goes down. Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm sure they're happening in the background. I'm sure I obviously send some, when I see some players I might want to trade for, but literally nothing happens because there's no real life interaction. I think that's step number one. If you can find a player, that's why it's nice to play with friends. Yeah, a bit of banter, or you see them at work, or you catch them sometime, or just drop them a message in the evening or something like that. That you have to have a conversation piece there. Okay. The second part I think that's really important with trades here is that it rarely happens on day one. You got to build it up. You got to build this up a little bit, man. You guys came out of the nowhere. Oh man, hey, take Sengun. I'll take Chet Holmgren. Holmgren is balling out right now. He's probably a top 15 player right now. But somehow you offer me a guy that's not top 15. Why would I do it? But you're gonna still try and convince me that's fine, okay? But
Yeah.
there's the point here where you can build up. So for example, and there's a game here as well. It's like how much do you build up for? Okay, so again, sometimes you just go, oh, I'll just try a little bit. Doesn't take it, doesn't take it. Like I don't look. I like Trey Murphy. I would take Trey Murphy. All right, I could stash him in my injury spot right now and drop or Saw Thompson. You're absolutely right. I could do that. But you know what? I honestly don't want to spend too much time thinking about Trey Murphy. I offered you a trade right there, and you didn't buy it. Dante DiVincenzo. I dropped Dante DiVincenzo. You can go grab him now at the waiver wire if you really want. You don't want him because you're watching. Pritchard. I know you like this kid. He looks like you. He's white too, yeah. but but the point here is that you work it up. So for example, let's say I want to trade Murphy from you. Okay, so I gave you Donald DiVincenzo, you didn't buy that. What if I say I gave you OG? Now you were like maybe. Now you were maybe. Yeah, you were thinking maybe OG. But let's say you didn't buy an OG. What if I then said, how about Josh Hart? Josh Hart now is averaging nearly a double double. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Now if I offered you Josh Hart, okay, while increasing my offer to you over a period of time, yeah, maybe a couple of days, okay, now you're going, whoa, he's gone from Dante DiVincenzo to Josh Hart. This guy is so much better than that guy. And now, actually, I should really think about this. So again, obviously, I'm not offering Josh Hart.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
not
Yeah.
into,
You start
but
low
there's,
and go
but there's,
higher.
but
Yeah.
there's a strategy here to get people thinking. So, for example, you did talk about Wemby and Jokic, two names that I've talked about this season. Who wouldn't love them? Yeah, if you could swing a trade for them, it probably 99% of the time strengthen your roster. Okay, I'm also looking at AD. I'm also looking at Luca. Hey, we're all looking across the whole landscape. Let's be clear. Okay, but I don't think these players are impossible to trade, but you got to find, trade for, okay? But you got to find the right sort of package and combination and discussion to make it happen. You mentioned before last season that you traded 3 for 1, and the player I sent you was Luca, and I got 3 back. But what you actually didn't maybe mention here, okay, and I know it's a little while ago, I don't actually remember the exact peripherals of this trade, but there's one more key player in this trade that I swung, which was with another player, and I had to clear roster spots for this. So I had to pull in players for this to give to you that you wanted. Was I also landed KD? Okay, and
Yes. Yeah. You're 4 for 1. Yep.
KD is obviously a top 15 player. Okay, and Chet last year maybe was not at that point yet, but Brunson was balling out. Okay, and Luca, and we talked about this, we dissected this probably towards the end of last season or when last season finished, was Luca's stats from a percentage perspective really killed me. And I was like, I'll give him away. He was my best pick. He's a top 10 player. He wins all these other things. But if last season I gave away Luka, I got KD, I got Brunson balling out, I got Chet. Okay, I don't. Fourth player was Brook Lopez. I think I dropped Brook Lopez actually because he was just a byproduct of this trade. Okay, but I think that's the reality of the trade market. So I think you got to think a little bit bigger. You're always,
Yeah,
you know,
and that's
you know,
I understand what you're saying. It's there's some limitations to what we're using. So we're using the ESPN Fantasy website. So there isn't a feature currently to allow you to do multi-team trades, and you can't trade for cash considerations or draft
it'd
picks
be
with your
nice
league.
if you could
So
do multi-team trades. How fun
it
would that be?
would,
Yeah, they should add that. Hey, ESPN.
yeah. They don't make much money off this, so I think that's probably not worth it. No, but I understand what you're saying. I think you said you definitely, it's like any haggling, right? Because that is what you're doing a little bit. You haggle a little bit. You don't offer the best deal. You don't take the first deal.
Absolutely
You've got
not.
to negotiate back and forth a little bit. So, that probably brings a segment where we need to talk about Alperen Sengun versus Chet
Good.
Holmgren.
I'm
So
all ears. I'm all ears.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the stats of Sengun currently, and I'm going to tell you the stats of Chet Holmgren currently, okay? So Sengun currently averages 14, 11, 4, 0.3 steals and 1 block. All right. And then Chet is currently averaging 15 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.3 steals, and 3.5 blocks, and 3.3 turnovers. So, what are the categories that you're valuing Chet in so highly that Sengun doesn't hit? And I just read the last 7-day stats, by the way. I didn't actually read their season stats. Season stats are a little bit more favorable for Sengun. So, why do you feel like Chet isn't on that tier? Or sorry, why do you feel Chet is on a different tier to Alperen Sengun? I'm curious.
Okay, so maybe this part again is an ear, and I don't know this about all the players, and we always have leagues. There's always, I swear, right? There's always in the league. There's one, hopefully not two or three players that never really actively seem to play for one reason or another, right? Okay, so there's those guys, okay? But obviously, me and you, we talk every week, so you should have a fairly rough idea what I value, and you value stocks. I know you like stocks. I could probably sell you high on stocks if I had a player that I wanted to ship. What do I value?
Uh, Percentages.
Percentages. So what are percentages for Alperen Sengun, please? Please read those ones out. Please read those ones out for me.
At present, he's shooting 38%.
Oh!
Opposed to last season where he shot 53. Now his 3-point percentages up, but we're not playing that kind of league, and his free throws seem to teeter around 70%.
Ooh, that doesn't feel very appealing to me, does it? Maybe
Okay.
you could lift that to 48%. Let's talk again.
So I guess the thing is, 6 games versus 63 last season. He's actually playing 4 minutes less than he was last season. So his production does need to go up a little bit more because he was averaging 21 last season, averaging 15 now. I just think it's reasonable to expect he's going to increase his scoring as time goes on. I just don't see him averaging 40%
with
for the season.
Jalen Green back now with the depth that
But
Houston
Jalen Green was back when he was good. So I know that there's a bit of a misconception about the Rockets. Alperen Sengun was the main guy on that team until he got injured, and then Jalen Green had that last 20-game surge. So now they're trying to figure out how to make it work with the two of them together. But there's a bit of give and take. Sometimes Sengun has a big game, sometimes he has a big game. Now I offered it to you because I'm trying to strengthen my blocks. It doesn't make me a powerhouse. It just fixes a bit of a hole, but it's not going to bring me into the top 4 categories. Sengun's still going to give you a block thereabouts, so you're only losing 2 blocks a game. You are getting hurt in your percentages a little bit, but I'm sure you compensate for that otherwise. But what I'm giving you is another Sabonis. I felt like you would be quite keen for another Sabonis that could give you 20, 12, and 10, because that is what he could potentially give you, on any given night.
Did you see Sabonis when I was like 17, 10, and 20? That was a win, man. That was a crazy game stat line. But that's not. I'm sure he might put up another 4 or 5 of those games this season potentially. But you're talking about potentially. Sengun right now is having a really slow start to this season. It has not helped your cause to try and swing for a player that is above his pay grade right now. Okay.
Can I chime in there? Okay, so the last 3 games, Chet hasn't been as good as I think you're envisioning. So
yeah,
Chet's
down,
20.
Because the Thunder are winning by 15 points every game. That's the point, right?
So what I'm offering you is I'm offering you a 500 Western team that's trying to be competitive with a star player who could potentially bounce back to what they were last season versus a guy who's going to give you really good production in consistently limited minutes. I didn't think it was unreasonable as much as you did, but that's okay. That's
this
all
is the
good.
part where you
So-
find Trey Murphy, is that right?
So that is where let's talk, Ben. Let's talk. So, all right, I wanna talk to you about something in terms of facilitating. There's some free agency players that I would actually like to explore.
Sure.
So I am happy to do a 2 for 2,
2
but
for 2.
I would drop the second incoming player.
Uh-huh.
So therefore, I just really want one player.
What's your
And
offer?
so,
I'd love to hear it.
so that is where I do advocate for Chet, where I would give you Şengün and Trey Murphy for Chet, and then you can just roster dump the other player on me, and you can pick them back up if you so please later on.
You do realize Trey Murphy's value is about 1%?
Okay,
He's currently
so-
injured right now, hasn't played a single game, right?
All right,
Correct?
So then let's continue to talk.
How about
'cause we've
DeMar
gotta
DeRozan?
negotiate a little bit. Well, DeMar DeRozan and Şengün for Chet isn't reasonable
Oh,
because
why not? I'll give
because
you
we
I'll give you
talked
also
about-
Thompson.
no, we talked about combined stats, and those combined stats far exceed
Yep.
what Chet and Asar Thompson would give you.
All right.
So, okay, let's pretend for a second that you don't want Trey Murphy and you don't want Alperen Şengün as a combo. Can I interest you in a third player? But then obviously I want to receive at least 2 decent players in return.
Sure.
So Chet would
What
be
is
one
your
of them.
final offer here? Because we could do this for the next 3 hours, I feel like.
We could definitely do this in the next 3 hours. I think, look, I asked about Josh Hart because Josh Hart's a unique position where he gives you a double-double as a guard. And so, in that situation, is that where,
You might have been able to
Derek
trade your
Lively?
CP3 for Josh Hart now, but you don't have CP3
or
anymore.
Derek Lively and Şengün and Trey Murphy
Can
for
I-
that.
I'm gonna.
Or
You
something.
gave me a.
Give
you
me a
said-
counter
you,
here.
You sent me a simple. You sent me an interesting message a few days ago, man. You said something like, I don't know what you maybe you're trying to trying to set some seed in, plant a seed in my head, right? Which I like the strategy. It was like, neither of us have a championship winning roster here. Yeah, that was literally your message, correct? And then I was like in my head, I didn't write this here. I was thinking, well, maybe you think that for yourself, but I think my roster is shaping up pretty well actually. I think I made an off-season move, okay, and timing is something that plays important too. Yeah, because if the season had started, I don't think I would ever have pulled off a move for LaMelo Ball. Yeah, but
No,
because
you
because
shouldn't
the
have pulled it off in the first
but
place.
the season hadn't started, so I sold fear. Yeah, I sold fear that what if he only plays 20 games? What if he only plays 20 games? Then that would be really a disaster for you. Then obviously I sold high on Klay Thompson. He's such a championship player that you don't count championship stats on a NFC roster. Okay, I don't think the trade was so terrible, but let's be
The
clear.
trade's terrible.
LaMelo is clearly the best player there.
You
and
got Walker Kessler too.
Okay, sorry, Chris. I do love you, man. But I did. But this
Screwed
is
him.
the part where you got to sell a strategy. A lot of times I think you said at the start, you do all the research and thinking, and then you just click an offer, and then you hope that they write back to you and they accept it or they accept it or decline it, I guess, right? But you need to put some level of mental thought into the other person's head for it to work in your favor. So you said to me, I don't have a championship winning team. I'm like, I think my team's shaping up reasonably well, okay? But I'm looking at your team now, and I think this is what your challenge is, that you don't have many assets to trade me, Nick. I'm sorry. Because there's some players there that you wouldn't trade. Like, you wouldn't throw in Steph Curry right now, would you? Because maybe I'll listen a little bit more now.
No,
but
so
would
here's
you?
the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I will explore trades with Steph Curry.
Okay,
What
so-
do you have to offer? Because
Okay, so
Chet
Şengün-
alone, I'm sorry, but Chet alone is not worth Steph and Şengün and Trey
Sure.
Murphy,
So,
right?
Şengün, Curry for Chet and Osar Thompson.
No, Asar Thompson's worth nothing currently. He has blood clot issues. He could die. He could die.
You just tried to trade me Trey Murphy. You can throw in Trey
He's
Murphy.
got a bad hamstring. He's gonna be fine. What are you talking about? My God.
This feels like a real life situation in an NBA roster where if you don't have those mid-level salaries,
You're asking
Yeah.
me, I've got a sprained ankle and a bit of a down start in 6 games. And I'm asking for Chet, who isn't an all-star, by the way. So that's 2 all-stars v0. And you're trying to give me a guy who's got blood clots so you can pick up another guy with hamstring issues. That's the disrespect. That's where you're unreasonable, right?
Well-
Because I've got assets. I have assets to trade that have risk and reward, just like everyone does, because it's 6 games into the season.
Nick's getting very emotional right now and not very
I just think if you
professional as
just
a
talk,
general manager.
if you just talk with me,
we're on a live call right now. Man, would you just talk to me right now? Please just consider a trade.
I think, looking at that, for example, you know, the reason why I said that I don't think we have a championship team,
You have three
just to
players that
bring
are
it.
out. You might need to drop a few of them.
No, I have
You
three
Steph's,
players. This is the thing. I have three players who are out that I can just sit on because I'm currently winning and I have a bit of a lead and you got to float around top
well,
four
you
and
can't
it's
play Sai
only
every
early in the
week.
season. um, I have players as well who are uncharacteristically shooting poorly, right? So I'm currently bottom in the league or second last in the league for field goal percentage, but I don't expect that to last because it will get slowly better. One, because I've dropped some of the fat in which was bad shooting from my free agency pile, but two, some players will get a little bit better. My free throws are third, my 3-pointers are low, but admittedly I'm hanging around that middle. I could be third and like a right game. Rebounds is middle of the pack, assists is top 3, steals is top. The blocks is the lowest. That's why I'm asking for Chet. You're obviously the highest in blocks, but you're highest in blocks by 12. So you lose Chet, but I don't think you lose your hold on the blocks category, especially when I give you back players who will still give you some
Maybe,
blocks.
maybe
I'm pretty low
maybe
on
we
the
don't need a
turnovers.
stats guy here. But hey, have you also thought about this, man? How many games did Chet Holmgren play last season?
In his rookie year at the young age of 20, after having an entire season off, he did play all 82.
Ooh, that feels like a bonus and a win in fantasy world and in real life too. That just is understated here. I'm so sorry. I do not believe you have the assets right now to trade for Chet Holmgren with me,
So what
unless.
else do you have? What else do you have that you're shopping? No, because you've talked about this. You've talked about this. As a good fantasy owner, you should be
Hey,
dynamically looking
yeah,
at
correct.
players.
Yeah, but no, but you know what? I feel like Nick, you're like 2 weeks into this fresh young season right now. Last season you felt a little bit, you fell over at the end, and it's no shame to that, but you fell at the end because you felt you didn't make enough adjustments. Could I make a suggestion here, maybe as your friend, man? Maybe don't worry about anything else. Well, in live
Make less
podcast here,
adjustments.
maybe sometimes the best move is no move. Crazy, right? Crazy. Maybe right now what you need to do is drop Steph Curry. Sorry, move Steph Curry into the injury spot. Sorry, no, move Steph Curry into the injury spot. And
And drop tray.
you need to drop Trey, drop Nick Richards, grab Peyton Pritchard, grab Jordan Hawkins. You love these two guys. They're balling out right now. And then you go into week 3 and you try and win that. Maybe. Just a thought. Just a thought. Hey, if you end up doing that, you can buy me a drink, send me some money
Well,
overseas.
see, here's the thing. No, so this is where the conversation would come back full circle. I do want to get rid of Trey Murphy, and I would like
Yep.
to pick up someone from the free agency pile.
So drop him.
But I'm happy to
Drop him.
package him in a
Drop him.
deal.
Drop him. I dare
But
you
you're
to
gonna
drop
just
Trey Murphy.
you're gonna pick him up. You're gonna pick him up.
So, well, I dropped Dante DiVincenzo, and you could pick
Yeah,
him
but
up
no
too.
one wanted him. You
Oh,
do want Trey Murphy, so that's the other flip side of this
oh,
trade thing.
I'm,
I
I'm,
understand
I'm,
value.
I'm, I'm winning without even doing anything.
I understand value.
I love
I understand value. This is the thing.
Nick's not gonna drop this injured player that hasn't played a game yet because he's too concerned that I will grab him.
He could tear the hamstring off the bone. You're not getting him.
Well, then I guess you're gonna have to sit with him on an injury roster spot. Steph Curry's out for a little bit longer, I think, and you're just gonna not play a full 13 player team, which is okay. I don't know who you're playing next week. If you're playing,
I'm
I don't know,
playing
Billy Bun.
Keith, so there is a little bit of
Yeah.
pressure this season, this week.
I'll make a
Just
video about
might have
it. Yeah,
talked a
yeah.
bit.
I might
Might have
make it.
talked a bit.
We'll make a video about this at the end of the week. But um,
We should get him on. He'd be keen to get on, wouldn't
look. At the end of the day, man, I don't think you've got a trade that you can pull off with me. So sorry. Hey, look, call me in a week's time, man, please, and just try and keep those emotions in check. All right.
you? I'm good.